What's going on, everyone? This is the PnC Dynasty podcast, episode 9. We got Smith and Badger here after a crazy week one, start to the season of the NFL. A couple upsets. A lot of vet players are underperforming. Some new players are overperforming. We got a lot to talk about. But first, we're going to go over a couple of sponsors. Badger, if you want to take that away.
Yeah, so our sponsor, in quotes, plug for the week, as always. First, Better Than Vegas. Head on over to Better Than Vegas. I post a bunch of plays there. There's a lot of great handicappers on there, video analysis of all their plays. And also, if you're into betting, $1,000 for the capper who's up the most units at the end of the month. Also, be sure to follow them on Twitter, at BTVBets. As they give away free money pretty much every day. Also, gemlinesports.com. I am doing some handicapping over there for the NFL season. I am 2-0 right now, tied for first place. So you can buy their newsletter for just $85 for the full year, and that will come with all of the 2-point plays for each capper. There's 7 of us. And then Better Fantasy. Vin and I are talking about it all the time.
Yes.
It's going to be launching soon. If you're on Sleeper, there's no reason not to get this app. When it goes live, you're going to be able to not only bet on your fantasy matchups, you can also bet on player props. It's going to be free for the entire season. And so head on over to Better Fantasy, BETTOR, fantasy.com. Just put your email in and you'll get 3 times better credits when they go live here in a couple weeks.
Always bet against yourself. That's what I found out this week. Because then I would win my money.
I don't know if that's going to be a sound strategy all year, Vinny, but we'll see.
That would be interesting.
We'll
Thank
talk
you,
about
Badger.
that.
Thank you, all the sponsors, I guess, that we have. Eventually, they will be
That would be interesting.
helping us.
We'll talk.
Was that me? Oh, no, that was... Okay, never mind. All right, so we're going to do intro. We got some news that we got to talk about. A couple key injuries, a couple key players that are not starting, that are supposed to be starting, and people that were out and looking that they could play Sunday, and some that bounced back. We got a bunch of news. I think a major one that we received today is Rojo is going to be the RB1, according to the coach Bruce, for week 2. That's going to be an interesting play. I don't know if it's a confidence booster that they're just giving him after basically benching him for the rest of the game after he fumbled. But that's, I don't know. That's something to look out for. It could be a trap, so keep in mind. I wouldn't start either. But that's on me. What are you guys thinking about that one? About Bruce?
Smith, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Well, I have Leonard Fournette, so I didn't play him last week. Played Melvin Gordon, but yeah, to your point, neither of them are probably plays, especially with what we saw Tom Brady doing last week.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. You're not playing the Cowboys every week, right? You're not playing that elite offense every week. You're playing teams like the Falcons who couldn't score against the Eagles, for crying out loud. You're facing the Panthers 2 times a year, who had one good half against a very bad defensive team. And you also have the Saints, who I don't know what to make of that situation with Green Bay. I think Green Bay was just absolutely throttled. I don't understand how that happened, but it did. But my point is, I don't know how much I believe in those offenses compared to Dallas. So I think there's going to be a lot more positive game scripts for Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette. You saw a lot of Gio Bernard towards the end of that game when they were trying to pass the ball because it was a high leverage situation where they had to get the ball down the field. So if you're talking about more running situations, I think Rojo does come into play. I think he is the best pure runner on the team. And then I think Gio Bernard's the best pure pass catching option on the team. So I think from that sense, Rojo will be fine, but I'm still not playing him. I don't really think he's very good. I think it's just one of those things where... Oh, hello, puppy. I think it's one of those things where they're just going with what they have right now. And what they have, they're trying to make 1 3-down back with 3 guys. And I don't know if that's going to work. We'll see.
I don't believe it will. Next key thing, I mean, we got a few. There was only really a couple injuries that happened, which is a positive thing compared to what we seen last year. Uh, I mean, Evan Ingram having a chance to come back Sunday, does that really help the Giants' offense? I don't think it does.
No.
But it adds another weapon. I mean, nothing's really helping the Giants' offense. Maybe Deshaun Watson, but that offense is weak.
Yeah.
Yeah. We could have seen this coming, and we didn't. Daniel Jones just isn't very good, and somehow we convinced ourselves that this team would be better, and we played ourselves.
Yeah. The Giants are definitely playing themselves. So that one's kind of a quick pass over. We do have Raheem Mostert going out for the season, which kind of takes up two things. You got a running back that a lot of people knew would probably get hurt. Not this quickly, but, he had the history, and now he's out for the season. Everyone was banking on Trey Sermon, and then he becomes a healthy scratch, which I think is a question mark of what that really is. And then you have Elijah Mitchell, who takes off, is their second running back that they drafted that year, right? Last year.
Yeah.
And he could be the next running back that is high value and high reward coming into this now. Last year's James Robinson, but I don't like to compare people because everyone's like, oh, who's the next James Robinson? But he could be the next, good starting running back that was free to a lot of people.
I agree. Not free to Smith, but as Smith and Vinny know, I was high on Elijah Mitchell. I drafted him in the 3rd round of the rookie draft, and then ultimately traded him to Smith in a little bit of a package deal that we touched on in an early episode. But yeah, it's sad for Mostert. I had him on my daily fantasy lineup, so only 2 points really hurt. But feel bad for the guy. I mean, there were high expectations. Kind of thought he was going to be the guy, at least to start the year, with Jeff Wilson being out, and then you get this. But to your point, it's Kyle Shanahan. You never know. Trey Sermon probably will lead that backfield in carries this week, knowing how Kyle Shanahan likes to run his offense. So, and it looks like Sermon didn't play because it was a special teams issue, is what I saw. But clearly can't trust the 49ers beat reporters either, as Smith knows very well.
They're the absolute worst in the business. They're terrible. One thing I'll say about this, if you had the chance to watch Elijah Mitchell at Louisiana last year, they tried to emulate that zone run scheme that Kyle Shanahan populates and that the Jets have brought over to that organization. So he knows how to run the ball in this type of offense. If you look at Ohio State's offense, it's very different from what the 49ers are operating, right? You have a lot more ground and pound. They go off of sheer talent. They're going to overwhelm you with talent. They're going to overwhelm you with speed like they did with Paris Campbell and Curtis Samuel a couple years ago, right? But this offense tries to get the best elements out of specific players, and that's why Elijah Mitchell, who might be a top 3 most explosive running back in this draft class, if you look at Player Profiler, that's why he fits. Trey Sermon was drafted with the precipice that he could fit in this scheme, but that it would take time. That's what I really think happened, and I don't think he was ready to contribute. So I still like Sermon. I still think he's a good player, but I don't think he was ready for that offensive scheme. And to your point, I think it's true. Hasty and Mitchell each have special teams value, whereas you're not getting anything like that from Sermon. So I don't think it's as bad for Sermon as it's made out to be, and that's coming from Mitchell owner. Yeah. But I do think it is positive news for Elijah Mitchell owners nonetheless.
I do agree. It's going to be interesting to see how they fit the running backs and utilize them because they're rookies. And in Dynasty, you want the rookie to succeed in the first year because then you got a lot of value coming out of that. Who else? We had Ryan Fitzpatrick go down with a hip injury. Goes on, plays on IR, but I don't know if it was season ending yet.
No.
But
6 to 8 weeks, they said.
6 to 8 weeks, and I feel bad for the guy. I mean, he has an insane team that he was just placed on. Great offense, unreal defense. He had the key to actually succeed and use his magic. But now he's hit with a hip injury, which kind of hurts for someone his age, especially, and his career, I guess, in future with NFL.
Yeah, I think they compared it kind of what Tua had when he was at Alabama. But yeah, it's sad. Definitely downgrade for every single Washington player now. So maybe not Antonio Gibson, but who knows?
Or Antonio
Or-
Gibson.
But yeah, it sucks for me too because I have Fitzmagic as my backup quarterback. So
Yeah.
gotta find a solution
From that trade
from that
we
trade.
had. Yeah.
Yep. I have Jimmy G, but can't expect him to be in there when I need him in week 7 when the GOAT Josh Allen is out. So yeah, I think now maybe the Giants don't come in last place in that division, but it's tough.
I agree.
Are we sleeping on Taylor Heineke at all? I mean, the guy was incredible in the playoffs last year and came in to that game and was really good against a very stout Chargers defense. Are we convinced that he's that much worse than Ryan Fitzpatrick?
I mean, I think he's worse. How much worse? We'll find out. But I think he's definitely worse than him.
So,
we don't know what he can do. Obviously, we had the playoff, but like,
yeah.
Don't really know much.
I mean, I don't know. I've watched a lot of him because I actually picked him up in a Superflex league that I'm in.
yeah.
And I dropped Carson Wentz because Carson Wentz looks washed. By the way, he's done. We'll get into that some other point in time. But Taylor Heineke is very fast, very explosive. He can absolutely scramble. He's a tactical scrambler. And he showed really good accuracy in the short and intermediate zones.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure if I think you can downgrade each of Curtis Samuel, De'Ami Brown, maybe even Logan Thomas a little bit. I don't know if you downgrade Terry McLaurin, though, because backup quarterbacks historically have favored number one wideouts more than starting caliber quarterbacks. So
we talk about that all the time when comparing to Brandon Cooks' situation, and look at that. Brandon Cooks had a great season.
Exactly. There you go. So I don't know if we downgrade Terry, and I don't know if we downgrade Antonio Gibson. This might be the thing that actually puts him over the top because we love below average quarterbacks for running backs that, are PPR monsters. And Gibson's absolutely that. We love Christian McCaffrey because Sam Darnold sucks. We love DeAndre Swift because Jared Goff sucks. It's a common thing.
I don't know. Jared Goff looked pretty good.
In the late, when trying to make that comeback, he did look pretty good.
Yeah, I guess we'll just have to see. You're right. Heineke has some ability, but who knows?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I don't think it's as doom and gloom as some people think. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. And the last injury, what was that again? Why am I drawing a blank?
Jerry Jeudy?
Jerry Jeudy. When I watched that live, I thought he broke his leg.
I thought it was Dak all over again.
I really thought he broke his leg.
I thought he was done. Yeah.
And we come back, and it's a high ankle sprain, which is kind of insane. I think that's luck. I really think he's lucky because of that. He should be out for the year, which I don't think he is, right? Or is he? No, it's like 8 weeks, yeah.
4 to 8 weeks.
That's a huge injury. That's Jerry Jeudy.
I feel like
That brings
8
up
weeks.
Noah. That definitely brings up Noah Fant. That definitely possibly helps Cortland Sutton out, depending on how he was. I don't remember looking into his stats too much.
Awful.
Okay. I think that helps him. I think that helps Javonte Williams a lot because he's a pass catcher. Right.
I think it's KJ Hamler that actually benefits the most here. I mean, I think Cortland Sutton does benefit the most because there was question going into the year, like, is Jerry Jeudy going to be the number one, or is Cortland Sutton going to be the number one?
Mm-hmm.
So I think as Sutton comes back from this ACL injury, the more reps he gets, I think he's going to show out to be that number one. Hamler, though, is like really fast. He dropped a wide open pass, but he got wide open. He just had to catch the ball and didn't.
I think Noah also benefits from it.
I do too, but there's
8
also
targets.
that other tight end, Albert O, and I'm not going to try to pronounce that last name, but
he had 3
they were going with a
targets.
lot of 2 tight end wide receiver sets.
Yeah, and he also had a fumble though, so that also hurts.
But he also had a touchdown. So I mean, look,
but he had a fumble. A fumble's a lot more negative than a touchdown. But yeah,
I looked at it. I thought it should have been down on.
There's still a lot of mouths to feed there, so.
Yeah. Oh no, I agree. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't think I would go with anyone outside of Sutton or Fant. Maybe Hamler. But
maybe hold Hamler or Tim Patrick just to see if they can give you value.
Yeah. I mean, especially in dynasty leagues, I think you want to hold on to Hamler because that's the speedster in this offense. That's the Christian Kirk, who maybe we talk about a little bit later. But yeah, it's just an unexciting offense. But you could have 1 or 2 dogs out there for sure.
You definitely can. So I think we can wrap that up with that injury. So we're going to move into kind of the recap of our week for the PnC Dynasty. A ton of crazy stuff happened. We had a lot of upsets. We had a good amount of teams underperform when they were projected to be insane. We had...
I don't know who that is.
We had a matchup of the century of our entire league. It will go down in history. It will be a memory that will live forever.
Especially because we were talking about that exact rule about 5 hours before it happened.
Everything about the situation is perfect, and I'll never forget it. And we're gonna tell you guys about this, but you're just gonna have to wait because it's just that good. And I'm not hyping this up to where you're gonna be like underwhelmed. I promise.
Smith is gonna do a great job of breaking this down.
I really do believe so, which is why I want him to do it on the last matchup, just so we can wrap it around. But Smith, let's start off with talking about yours versus Leo's. This is this was rivalry, the rival week. I can't say that word. Rival week 1. You always talking smack with Leo. You've lost to him twice last year, and just break it down. How'd this week go for you?
I was a DeAndre Swift in the flex spot and Aaron Rodgers being not terrible away from winning this game, and that kind of sucks. I got to be honest. I was really happy with how a lot of my players performed. Mixon was awesome.
Ayuk.
Damian Harris was very, very good until the fumble. I mean, he was getting really good carries. He was actually getting targets out of the backfield, which was amazing. T. Higgins was really good. I liked Chase Claypool out of the flex spot. You'll take 10 points from your flex all day. I mean, a little bit low, but I'll take it as a floor. But yeah, the killer here was Cortland Sutton and Brandon Ayuk combining for, I think it was like 2.4 points.
2.4 points.
Yeah. And, you can't do that when Leo has Corey Davis go off. He has Robbie Anderson catch, I think, 1 or 2 passes, but one for a long touchdown.
Robbie Anderson caught 1 ball for a 57-yard touchdown.
Yeah, okay. I mean, you can't predict that stuff. And,
I think we knew Corey Davis was going to be good.
I
agree. I'm on board with Corey Davis. I'm on the Corey Davis hype train, no doubt about it. So I'm not surprised by that. But he got really good performances from everybody. I mean, everybody. Is it safe to say that Leo got 90th percentile outcomes from everyone besides Pittman and Tunyon?
90%.
And Ridley.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, you got to think.
And
Ridley. I think Ridley underperformed. Robbie Anderson underperformed. He had 1 catch. Cool as a touchdown.
But how many points did he have?
It's only 12. 12.7. Like he could.
That's probably where he's going to be most of the year, in my opinion.
I agree.
Maybe.
Yeah,
I could see him 15.
especially with Christian McCaffrey. Did you see Christian
Oh.
McCaffrey's on pace for like 100 gazillion
receiving
targets, right?
and
Of
100
course,
rushing.
but like
yeah.
also
Yeah.
he had 3 targets, right, Robbie Anderson. So
Yeah.
if one of them was a decent ball, another one, that's 2 catches. Like there's 15 points right there. So I think, yeah, obviously you could take away the touchdown, but it'll be, I guess, around there. I'll agree.
Obviously,
I mean,
Kyler
look,
Murray, 41
yeah,
points
41 points.
is a lot, but I think we could probably expect him
To be in the
20 to 30 a
30s.
week.
Yeah, because I don't see.
20s,
I don't
yeah.
see. He had 5 touchdowns, 1 interception. I could see him scoring 3 or 4 touchdowns every week, whether it's 1 rushing and 2 throwing, or 3 tosses, 1 in the run. He's
The Titans
definitely
are
getting that.
really bad though defensively. That's a
I
bad
don't know.
defense.
Yeah, but I mean, he's playing Minnesota.
Well, he's got
next,
Minnesota,
so-
who just lost to Cincinnati, so he's probably going to get about 25 to 30 again this week.
Yeah,
he has
I
a
would say that's
very
fair.
easy 3 weeks.
Yeah,
Yes,
he does.
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm trying to say is, he and I had I think he had more boom performances. I had some good performances, but I had way more busts. I mean, did any of you see Aaron Rodgers struggling the way he did? I think
Didn't catch that game.
no. I mean, I think like would it be crazy to think that Aaron Rodgers should score at least 15 points a week at minimum? Like, is that crazy to say? I don't think it
it's
is.
Aaron Rodgers. I don't think it's crazy, but
Yeah.
I heard something yesterday that his passer rating was worse than if he had just thrown the ball in the dirt all day.
Yeah, literally.
because he had 2 interceptions.
Yeah, he had 2 interceptions. Yeah.
Wow.
And that one bogus report from Tom Pelissero, who is probably the worst at NFL Network.
Hey, watch what you're saying. Here.
Easy,
saying-
man.
Can't be calling people out on the podcast.
Hey, Ian Rapsheet is always on top of that stuff, but he comes out with this report, Pelissero, that Swift is going to be minimally used, that Williams is going to be the primary starter, and that is not at all how it shaped out to be whatsoever. And if that report had not come out, Swift would have been in my lineup. So
Well, okay, but you got to make your own decision as an analyst and a.
yes,
Right.
I agree with that, and now I know who to trust and who not to trust. We know not to trust the San Francisco beat. We know not to trust.
So what? Who did you
I mean,
remove? So who did you put in for Swift?
So I was between Claypool, Sutton, and Swift. Swift because the conditioning bogus reports. Sutton because the ACL issue, and do I want to start him his first game back? Claypool because do I trust Chase Claypool to start the year? I was going to go with Sutton and Swift. So I would have gained about 14 points there, if my math is correct, and then at least an average performance from Aaron Rodgers, that's like, 35 points right there. So I think I might have still lost. But at the same time, I think we're having a much different discussion. I think I might be 1-1 instead of 0-2.
yeah.
But, oh, well, you'll take it. And you know what? Hats off to Leo. I still have questions about that team long term. But you got to give it to him. Calvin Ridley is very good. Kyler Murray's very good. And you got some real big boom
David Montgomery.
performances.
Everybody's doubting that guy. He is good.
David
He is a
Montgomery.
top 10, top 15 running back.
Yes.
I don't care what people. He did that to the Rams defense, and
Yeah.
he missed 2 or 3 drives still, and had over 100 yards.
He's
good.
good. Yes.
He is good. Yeah. Yeah. But I got nothing to say
Yeah.
after that.
Badger.
So
We're gonna skip the Derek and Parker one because we'll end that one for last. Badger, let's discuss you versus Dan, and then I know you're gonna cover Haj and Pete's matchups here. So let's break it down.
Yeah.
Whatever order you like. Take us through the
So,
journey.
Dan and myself went pretty much as expected, I would say.
I
The thing I wasn't expecting from my team necessarily was 0.4 median win. So 2-0 to start the year, which I could honestly not ask for anything better at this point. Josh Allen underperformed, but so did Herbert, so no harm, no foul there. And then I kind of got lucky, I would say, with Melvin Gordon breaking off for 70 yards and a touchdown. but we'll take it. And then obviously my wonderful take on Adam Thielen
Yes.
came to
Props to
fruition. So that was another 30 points there. But overall, I'm happy with my team's performance, especially with Saquon only putting up 3 points on the week. And Dan, he kind of got unlucky too. He probably would have beat me, honestly, if Raheem Mostert played the whole game.
Yeah.
I would say. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Overall-
15 points, that's a lot, man. That's a lot.
Yeah.
I think you lose if Raheem Mostert
Right.
doesn't get hurt.
I would agree with that.
Because since he got hurt, you and the Barkley and Mostert just canceled out the points.
Yeah.
But if,
Yeah.
I really could see Mostert hitting 15. Why not? Right? With that
Yeah, I
high-scoring
agree.
game.
And I think that I know we'll get into players who over and underperformed later on, but Hollywood Brown looked pretty good as well. I had a player prop on him over 4.5 receptions last night, and he got to that virtually in the first half. 6 for 6, 69 yards and a touchdown. So don't know
One
if
of those was a really
continuously-
insane catch. Did you see that
Yeah.
one where he fell on the ground with one hand? I mean, wow.
Yeah, that was nuts. And then
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll get that every week out of him, but I think that Dan and I probably are lower tier teams. So to get these 2 wins is good for me. Lower tier as of now, I would say my team is. But as we progress into the season, hopefully Saquon comes back healthier, and then Javonte Williams takes over that backfield. So I have 2 good running backs to pair up.
He did it with underwhelming performances from Brown and Andrews as well. I mean, Brown scored that 1 touchdown, which was the saving grace for that game, but otherwise he was non-existent. And then Mark Andrews, also really quiet game, which, you know, when you're missing Rashad Bateman, you'd think he'd get more targets. So you won in the most opposite way of what I thought you might have if you did this. So kudos to you for getting that win.
And I would expect Andrew's production to pick up next week.
Sure.
He was
Yeah.
wide open
He
probably
has-
6 or 7 times, and Lamar just didn't
has-
throw him the ball. So I was talking to Vin about it earlier. Or R. Kelly, probably going to watch the film, and he'll probably have 8 to 10 targets next week, I would think.
Yeah.
Well, look, you got Goddard and you've got Komet, and both of them were decent options yesterday. So, worst comes to worst, if Andrews falls off the face of the earth, you still are covered there with some pretty decent tight end options.
Exactly. Yeah.
Agreed. I'm going to quickly touch base on Ryan and Andy's because Ryan typed in that he wanted to listen to his matchup overview before he went to the gym. And then
Great.
Badger, you can finish it off. But Ryan versus Andy was the second closest spread of points. It also was the second highest total of points between the matchup. So both of these teams automatically got a win based on the median itself. It was a well-fought battle by both teams. Badger also gave advice to Andy to start Tom Brady over Dak Prescott. I would like to be able to say that was a significant difference to say that Andy won because of this, but it was a total of 3-point difference. But Badger was correct in that prediction, so he definitely.
Tom Brady,
helped out.
two bogus interceptions, too. Otherwise, he
You're right.
has a couple more points.
He has like 40
Yeah.
points, yeah.
Do you go with the number 5 quarterback on the week or the number 7? You know, like
Exactly.
an embarrassment
That's
of
crazy.
riches there.
But to get into this matchup, the special teams, their kickers and defense on both teams just absolutely shit the bed. Baltimore minus 1 point, 2 points for the Giants. Right, and then you got Greg Zuerlein, who, if you ended the game in the third quarter, would have cashed in probably -5 points or -3 points for Ryan Kelly. But he comes out at top at 5 points, which is kind of impressive being down -3 or 5. So
Yeah.
that was a lucky break for him. We were all laughing at him. But the real key points here, I think Brandon Cooks proving that he can do what he could do with Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod Taylor is probably favorite target right now. He had 7 targets. He put up 132 yards. He didn't even score a touchdown. If he scored a touchdown, that would have put the icing on the cake for a top wide receiving performance. Unfortunately, he was going up against Amari Cooper, who put up 38 points. He had Mike Williams, who put up 22.
Stupid.
He had
He's so
Cooper Kupp.
stupidly good.
Like, Andy's team is absolutely ridiculous for wide receiver right now. If Mike Williams could hold that production, because 12 targets after doing what he did last year, is Herbert actually liking him? That could be interesting.
Yeah.
And it could be.
I hope Mike Williams keeps it up, because they said we're not extending you, and this is just going to be a slap in the face to them if he produces all year.
Agreed.
Yeah.
He's a big body.
He is, and that's
he just
why they're not
underperformed every year. Is his issue.
Yeah.
He's gotten injured every year. He's so aggressive in contested catches, more so than even Kenny Golladay, who might be the best contested catch receiver in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Williams might be number 2, but there's a correlation here between guys who are really good at that. It's injuries, because you're putting your body on the line every single time, because you don't have that breakaway speed that Tyreek Hill or the guy we talked about earlier, KJ Hamler, have, right? So you're always going to be at risk to get injured. And if Mike Williams can get some of these shorter intermediate passes where he's getting 8 to 9 touches a game, that's huge. Mm-hmm. Because you're not forcing him to go deep. But then the question becomes, who becomes that deep threat for the Chargers? Is it Josh Palmer? Is it Jalen Guyton? That's going to be something to monitor, I think.
I just loves plugging Josh Palmer.
No.
He really does.
Josh Palmer was clearly behind Jalen Guyton in snap share. So I'm not here to plug in Josh Palmer. Jalen Guyton was clearly the number 3 guy.
Yeah.
So one thing I do want to bring up about the defense is, because you brought this up.
Yes.
How worried are you about the Ravens? I'm moderately worried at this point.
Their defense?
About that defense, yeah.
I mean, they
had some more injuries last night. Humphrey got banged up. They already lost Peters.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna be hurting every single week, I think. I mean, they play Kansas City this upcoming week, so it's gonna hurt even more.
That's an easy sit, yeah.
And then you have Detroit, you have Denver, so you're okay, Indy, but then you hit Chargers. Since it's gonna be an interesting their playoff push for defense is a drop. You put them on the waivers, you never touch them.
Yeah.
But just to get out of there and finish up this matchup, and before I go into Ryan's team, because he's the one he did lose, but he did get top median in points. The score was 179 to 166, so very high scoring, especially in a single QB league. But Ryan's team really consisted of Christian McCaffrey and the combination of Mahomes and Hill, who kept him in this game. That combo right there, 11 targets for Tyreek Hill, almost 200. He basically had 200 all-purpose yards because he had 4 yards in rushing. So he had over 200 yards and 1 TD. And then you just have Patrick Mahomes, who was just whipping it down the field, and had to make that last-minute comeback for the field goal. And I think, right, it was a last-minute field. No, it was a last-minute field goal or touchdown.
No, the Browns fumbled the punt.
Yeah.
And then they just...
And then Kansas City said, we're done playing around.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But those two, I mean, Mahomes Hill stack, you can just pencil it in for at least 50 points a week.
Every single week. It's just going to happen no matter what. So he basically has a 50-point handicap every single week. I think, what really hurt Ryan here is Gaskin kind of underperforming, but maybe we didn't really know what we could get out of him, so 12.6 was okay. But Mike Evans putting up 5 points, Gallup putting up 7. That really hit him because you can't predict that. Mike Evans should not be getting 3 receptions for 24 yards and 1 tackle. I don't know why it says that.
I said this though, before the season began. He's not the same player.
I think he is.
If you look at his separation from cornerbacks in man-to-man coverage, it's not what it was 3 years ago. It's just not.
But not every player gets better over time in their age. Yes, a lot of them do, but you can get faster in 3 years, but you could also slow down. I just think that Tom Brady, next game, who are they playing? They're playing Atlanta.
You got the Falcons,
Like,
so this
Evan-
would be a
like-
get it right game.
Exactly. So Mike Evans can literally go for 200 yards this game.
Sure.
And then Godwin will sit and get like 3 points. I feel like that is how Tom Brady and the Buccaneers and the wide receivers for in fantasy terms is going to be week in and week out. You're going to have maybe one of them stay around 10 points, like consistently as their low and their floor, but you're going to have the boom and bust of one of those players every single week.
Now, who's that safe guy? For me, I think it would be Brown.
Antonio Brown, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Antonio Brown is a safe guy. You have Godwin and Evans who will probably flip-flop and who has the hotter hand, who's getting the separation, and who's not getting focused.
And let's not forget, Ryan left Rob Gronkowski on his bench. And
Yes, I was going to
Ryan
get there
won.
in analyzing this if you didn't jump to go.
Hey, we're talking about
Quickly on Mike Evans.
What?
Quick. I have as a top 12 wide receiver to start the year. I think to your guys' point, it's going to be up and down. I think between him and Godwin. I was sleeping on Godwin this week. I thought that injury would maybe nag him a little bit, but clearly it didn't. So I think, as we saw, Antonio Brown probably going to be Brady's safe guy to go to, and then it's going to be a rotation between Evans and Godwin for the wide receivers.
Yeah, of course. Michael Gallup, I just think he needs to get a better flex position to plug in there. Probably Josh Jacobs. I think he should have started Josh Jacobs over Michael Gallup. I think
he's not going to have Gallup.
I agree with that.
No, I know, but I personally, I love running backs. I'm starting Josh Jacobs over Michael Gallup. Gallup was up against the Tampa Bay defense, and then you could think about the Baltimore defense too. But Gallup has more competition than Josh Jacobs, so I don't know. That was a decision on him, but I guess you could go either way. But now you won't have that decision.
Gallup also got hurt. So.
Yeah, I understand that, but even if he didn't get hurt, it still could have been up there. Yeah, he got 7 targets, but he only had 36 yards. And then, of course, starting Jonnu Smith over Rob Gronkowski caused him to lose. If you really wanted to plug in one player that he could have added to win, it would have been playing the right tight end. If I was in his shoes, to be honest, I don't even know who I would have started. Maybe I would have started Gronk just because it's Gronk.
Hindsight's 20/20, ain't it?
But if you really just think about it, Jonnu Smith is probably more of the logical play with the rookie quarterback and them not really having a lot of wide receivers or options, and he's one of the bigger guys. So
I think the process behind
unlucky.
getting to Jonnu was sound. I agree.
I agree. I just think it was an unlucky matchup.
Yeah.
It also is a reason why I pushed for this vote, because he would be 0-1 with being able to beat everyone besides two other teams in the league. He would have easily beat every team by 16 or more points outside of Pete and Andy. So the addition of our win for top 6 point median allowed him to go 1-1, kind of break even for the week, which is a positive in my eyes.
And just quickly too before we move on. McCaffrey, no touchdown and 28 points is frightening. If he stays healthy and he has Mahomes, Hill, and McCaffrey, that could be very scary.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because that could not only average 80 points per week, almost guaranteed, combined. You're also having the upside of getting over 100, like 115
from those three guys.
From those three guys, exactly. And,
So
and that would beat my team. I have 107. I scored 107. Hold on, because he actually 30. What is this? 30, 60. I'm pretty close. 60. That would be 74. 85, whatever it is. Like, come on.
Yeah.
When you've got this kind of floor with, the Kansas City stack and McCaffrey, Evans is actually the perfect play for this team.
It's filthy.
You can go with that boomer bust guy and still probably get at least above the median, which he did.
Which, if I'm him, I'm playing Rob Gronkowski almost every week. Not just based on the first performance, but as a boomer bust. Why not? You have
You mean a
such
flex spot, right?
Well, no, just put him. I mean, just.
Or would
throw him in.
you replace him with Jonnu?
No, I would just replace him with Johnny. Just throw him in there. Boomer bust. Like if he puts up
Alright.
30 points or he puts up 10, cool. Johnny is maybe being able to do that, but I think Rob Gronkowski has a higher ceiling and a more chance to go off week in, week out due to the quarterback play and the situation that Gronkowski's in and the connection he has.
One thing I want to say, just to end the conversation on this,
Yeah.
Gallup getting hurt for a while does dent Ryan's depth here. So
Yeah, of course.
I assume Gronkowski goes into the lineup, right?
Or
It's
Josh
going to get really
Jacobs.
interesting, though. Yeah, so, I mean, if he has one more injury, it's going to get very interesting.
He'll be sending
with this team
he'll
because
be
they
sending
got
picks out.
Yeah, at that point, like, you know, he has 2 injuries and he's in trouble. So we already saw one happen here. So I'm hoping for his sake. I don't want to see anyone get injured.
Yeah.
I want to see
So-
this team play out.
Agreed. We do have 3 more matchups, and we're already 40 minutes in, so I gotta push this forward.
Yep. Let's
Badger.
go on to Hodge
Yep.
versus the reigning champion
Correct.
and most points for in week 1.
God.
The most hated, or not? How could I word this? The team
The
that
most
everyone
confusing.
criticizes, the team that everyone yells at, the team that everyone shits on and says they're terrible, comes from winning the championship, and now puts up 194 points, which I believe is the second most ever points scored in this league
My God.
in a week in, week out basis. Yeah. So
Yeah, that's just insane. I thought this matchup was going to be a lot closer, but as we touched on earlier in last week's episode, could have been panic mode for someone, but I don't think Hodge needs to worry just yet. He still put up 150 points, so he did get that median 0.4 with his running backs putting up a combined less than 15 points.
Yeah.
So I think Hodge is still fine here, but obviously want to focus on Pete's team, who pretty much did what his team name is. He just absolutely dominated. Russell Wilson, 35 points. Hopkins, 26. Waller, I mean, John Gruden said today that Waller's the best player he's ever had play for him. 19 targets.
Holy crap.
19 targets.
Unreal.
Can we keep seeing that week in, week out?
No.
I would say he's probably
But I
going
would
to
say
see...
10 to 12.
I would say 12 to 15 a week. Probably not. I mean, we saw Brian Smith is going to touch on this later probably, but Brian Edwards got incorporated late in the game and still ended up getting 12.5 fantasy points.
Very
But I think that they're going to be throwing the ball. So I think that Waller can, keep this at least 12, I would say, a week, average, and 105 yards and a touchdown. So his core 4 kind of produced. The only one that underproduced, I would say, is Justin Jefferson, but somehow Sterling Shepard stepped in and had 24 points. And then Jamal Williams, 25. So we saw great production from Pete's team. Even guys you weren't expecting produced for him. So, I mean, yeah, on a bye week, he might have trouble, but he's clearly here to compete again against everybody's wishes, it appears.
And it's amazing.
I take the L. I
love
can't
it.
even understand. I can't even begin to comprehend.
I'm starting to understand how to play this league.
Do the opposite of
And
what you
I
think
am
is right. Yes.
I'm going to sell my fucking team.
Yes. Sell. Who's like your 4th best running back for 2 first-round picks?
James Robinson.
Yeah, sell him. So sell him for 2 first-round picks to Pete. That should be the secret formula.
Yeah,
there.
he probably would do that. Maybe I'll have to reach out to him.
Mike
It's,
Davis, not
nuts.
good. Cordero Patterson was the better running back.
No.
He was.
No.
He absolutely was. Mike Davis was the
Cordell
second.
Patterson had 9 total touches, and yet Mike Davis had 21. How are you going to say 9?
I didn't say who got more. I said who was better. Cordero Patterson was the better player. If you watch that game, it was not a discussion.
I didn't waste my time after the first quarter.
Yeah.
The whole Falcons team. I mean, I
I'm so
am not a
tired.
Matt Ryan believer this year.
I'm not either.
Hopefully
Yeah, neither
Derek
am I.
doesn't listen to this because I want to get Baker from him. But the Falcons are awful.
They're terrible. My God.
And it's just, I mean, the Eagles aren't very, thought of being a great team, and they just go in there and absolutely stomp them. So probably panic mode for all Falcons players outside Ridley, obviously, and I guess Derek would say Kyle Pitts, but
Panic.
the whole Falcons team. Are we overreacting? Maybe,
No.
but they did not look good. But just to touch on Hodges' team, Matt Stafford balled out, and then Tyler Lockett looking good again. I mean, I've been high on this guy.
Yep.
I tell Hodge every week how great he is.
Yep.
Only 5 receptions, but 2 touchdowns and 100 yards. He everybody thought DK was going to be the deep guy, which he probably is going into later weeks, but Lockett still proved that he's got it.
Hey, they might have 2 deep guys, and you know what? With Russell Wilson,
Let
that's
it happen.
okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. He's the best deep thrower in the game. Let him have 2 deep guys.
4 touchdowns.
I want you to touch
Sure.
on one more guy, if you weren't going to.
Sure.
Badger.
Deebo Samuel. Yeah, this is a tough one for Smith to swallow, I would say. And maybe Smith should have listened to me when maybe Roto Grinders had the report right. Ayuk's a punt returner for the week. And Deebo Samuel, granted,
Yes.
Jimmy G threw that one absolutely awful ball that I think a good defense picks off, and he takes it for that touchdown. But 30 points is 30 points. You can't really...
189 yards is 189 yards.
9 for 12.
It's a lot of targets.
So, yeah, that's unreal. That's, I mean, people think Debo's great. So,
But
that-
who's your wide receiver 2 to have in this team? If Brandon Ayuk is not the wide receiver 1, if he is not the wide receiver 1, and we see Deebo Samuel as the wide receiver 1 right now, who is your wide receiver 2? I don't think anyone. I think you just
The
take
wide
Kittle.
receiver 1 is Kittle. The wide receiver 2 is Deebo Samuel.
The wide receiver 1 is Deebo because he had 12 targets.
Who even is their third wide receiver?
What?
Who even is their third wide receiver?
Trent
Trent
Sherfield,
Sherfield.
who I can confirm is not as good as Brandon Ayuk at football, but
Mohamed Sanu?
Yes, he had a couple of
He had one. He
catches.
had one catch. Yeah.
Sanu is
Like-
just like he is the definition of just a guy at this point. He's like
Yeah,
what,
I think
32
Samuel
years old.
keeps it up. I think he's a 15-point guy a week at least.
Does
Unhealthy.
Does Elijah
Absolutely.
Mitchell
I agree.
know how to catch the ball? Because it doesn't seem like
Yes,
he had a target.
he was a prolific pass catcher.
He
in
didn't
college.
have a target at all, so that would be interesting.
Well, they targeted. Hold on, I know Hasty was the guy they went to for that. So how many targets?
Hasty
did
had
Hasty
one
have?
target. One target.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. Like Jimmy G, like when you're facing that bad of a defense,
Yeah.
you don't have to dump off to your running backs. Kittle and Debo, and if you put them out there, Brandon Ayuk would most likely get open 9 times out of 10 against that
Agreed.
team, especially without Jeff Okuda.
Okay.
So-
I'm gonna ring the bell here. Any final
Okay.
thoughts, Badger, for that? Because we need to touch on my quick matchup, which I'll talk really long, and then we got another one.
Yeah, nothing else here. Pete's team
Yeah.
looks outstanding. Hopefully don't have to play him too early in the season.
I play him this week, and you'll have to wait for my
Well,
prediction tomorrow.
BOL.
But
Yeah, BOL. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Back-to-back losses to teams that you don't like. So moving on to the next team, which is my own team. First, I like to say that not only is my team projected the most points every single week, not only is my team the top of every single dynasty ranker to win this year, I think it's all fake. I think they're just playing with my emotions. I don't like projections. I don't like rankings. I tell everyone to stop telling me that I'm going to be first because shit like this, week 1, I scored a total of 107 points. 107 points. And my team probably looks the best on paper. When you have the team that I have, the names on paper, You would think I could put up 200 points week in, week out. But I point up 107. Is it scary? Yeah, it sucks. I went 0-2 week 1 with the... But to break it down, it's just shit luck. Ryan Tannehill, 14 points. He had 1 interception. He got 2 fumbles. Dude looked terrible.
He looked bad.
Alvin Kamara.
Yeah.
You know what? I still love
18
him.
points.
I don't care about the 18 points. I care about he got 28 touches. He scored a touchdown. Jameis Winston threw for 5 touchdowns. He looks amazing. I think his eyes, he can actually see now. He's not blind. I think Kamara's in the best hands with Jameis Winston outside of Drew Brees. So I still think that he is going to produce week in and week out.
Vinny, he scored 18 points.
You're
making it sound like he was bad.
He scored. He was like
I'm
one
not
of
saying
the
he's
only,
bad. He was 20. He got 28 touches. I'm not saying he's bad. I'm saying he was the only one to actually perform on my team.
Sure.
And
He's like the
also-
only top 5 running back that performed this week.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then
Outside
exactly.
McCaffrey.
And-
And McCaffrey.
what I love too, I don't really love it for as a Kamara owner, but I mean I also have Tony Jones. He saw 11 rushes, Tony Jones, which is a lot for.
I mean, a lot of that was at the end of the game. To be fair,
you're right.
but-
You're right, but he was there.
Yeah.
Someone that I really, not really nervous about. I just am more nervous about the Titans line, unless the Arizona's defense and their front seven is actually filthy. But 5 sacks in one game is kind of disgusting. But Derrick Henry having 17 carries and only getting 58 yards scares me. What really makes me happy is that he got 4 targets in the receiving game when usually he only averages like 20 in a year. So having 4 in one game is pretty impressive for Derrick Henry, and I'm kind of looking forward to that. Maybe he'll continue, but he had 10 points. DK Metcalf, he started off very slow, didn't catch a ball until the second half, but ended with 16 points because you can almost guarantee a touchdown.
It takes 16 points.
Julio Jones, I did it at a limb. I was going to play him or Allen Robinson, but whatever. Noah Fant, love him, 15 points, awesome. Austin Eckler, James Robinson, shit the bed. I mean, Austin Eckler, love that he got a goal line carry, red zone. Everyone was saying that he wasn't going to get those, and he gets them. But he got 0 targets, 0 catches. I think that changes. It was probably just, how the situation was. James Robinson, probably the scariest of my running backs because who knows with that situation. Jaguars.
Vinny,
No, it's all right.
I'm just going to take a slight victory lap here.
There is no victory lap until literally week 1.
I tried to warn you, though. I mean, the usage. It's good that Robinson was the target when they were trailing by 25 to the Texans, but I don't know, man.
The only reason why I'm worried is the Jaguars didn't do a rush attempt. They didn't rush the ball until like the second quarter. They didn't rush the ball all first quarter. But they also were down bad against the Houston Texans, which that scares me. That team
That'd be alarming for the whole year.
Yeah, so it's one of those things. Jalen Hurts on the bench, I love it. 33 points on the bench, I'll take that all day because it's Jalen Hurts, and I didn't know what to do with him. I had a bunch of bench players that outperformed my main starters, but they're names that would never start on my team if you're looking at names. So I don't really need to touch on them.
Yep.
I lost 131 to 107. I lost to a team that should have put up at least 160 points, and he only put up 131. So both of our teams just underperformed a lot.
I mean, do you really think Chris's team should have put up 160 points with Marcus Callaway in his starting lineup? I think
he could get
maybe
150
at most.
Yeah.
I think he performed pretty much as expected, honestly.
I was thinking
agree.
he would get 150. I think Lamar Jackson, he had 2 fumbles, should have probably been above 20 points. I think Chris Carson underperformed. I think Stephon Diggs.
I think Chris Carson performed right where he's going to most of the year.
I mean, I'll take that.
Yeah,
if
he's
I'm playing him
fumbled
twice
his
a
whole
year.
career, and he probably would be in danger of losing his starting position were Rashad Penny not hurt yet again.
Yeah.
Where have we heard that one before? I mean, look, Lamar would have had 24 points were it not for those fumbles. He lost 7 points between the fumbles and the fumbled loss statistics, so that's one. Nick Chubb, Yeah, I don't trust him in PPR. He got all this production
But
from
that's
2
how.
touchdowns.
But that's who he is as a runner. He's
Can
like
you? But
you compare him to Derrick Henry. Compare him to he's on the ground, he's rushing, and he's getting you the touchdowns. That's
I
how
don't
he's.
like either. That's the issue. I don't like
But
either.
they get the touchdowns. They're the team. They're the players that get the touchdowns.
He's a 15-point a week guy. I think they have a great offensive line.
They do. I
Um,
They have a
agree.
I
good
think he's going to
defense.
be able to. I mean, 2 touchdowns obviously not sustainable a week, but I
At least
think
one.
100 yards, 80 to 100 yards each week is pretty attainable. And if he's catching 1 or 2 balls, he's a 15-point a week guy.
I think he is. Yeah, I think he overperformed though. That's what I'm trying to say.
Touchdowns is not
You
usually.
can't predict exactly, and he had 15 carries, 83 yards. He would have had 24 points were not for that fumble loss. So that's a good thing. Keenan Allen, a bona fide beast, right? I mean, were we underrating Keenan Allen? I feel like this is
No.
a yearly occurrence here.
I don't think Keenan Allen is underrated. I just think he's not talked about enough. I don't think people.
He's underrated,
I don't.
then.
No, but no, it's not one of those things where it's like, oh, like he's, like yeah, just forget about him. It's more of like everyone knows who he is, and everyone knows what he could do, and everyone knows that he does what he does, and it's just
He's a top 15 receiver.
yeah, and he's going.
Oh no, he's top 10 for me. I don't know. I don't know about you guys, but
I would say
he's,
top 12.
he's playing
top
with
10,
Justin
yeah.
freaking Herbert, guys. I mean,
I understand, and he's putting up 100 points. He didn't even catch a touchdown, which he should. But
Right.
That game was just weak. But all in all, with our matchups, seeing how the future is going, my future as it looks right now is it looks like I'm going to see the Donna. Obviously, it's week 1, but hey,
Stop it.
I could
Stop
be
it.
you.
Stop
No,
it.
no, but literally, you don't know. So I could be getting punished, and I would love it because I would make out with the fake sex doll in the middle of the restaurant.
Well, let me ask you this, Vinny. So
What?
you know how I love to bring up percentage outcome.
Yeah.
What percentage outcome was this team this week? Was it like 10 percentile outcome?
My.
5th percentile?
What do you mean?
Out of 1 to 100, 1 being the worst possible performance, 100 being the best, this would be what? In the 5th to 10th percentile outcome for your team?
90. For 100 being the worst?
No,
No,
100
best.
being the best.
Oh, I thought you said worst. Then,
No.
Then
no.
10%, 5%. This
Okay.
is this
So
was
you're
this
fine.
was. I think this
You're
is
fine.
my floor.
This
as
is
in-
lower than your floor, I think. I don't know.
What do you mean? I mean, this is my floor.
I mean, it is now your
It is my
floor.
floor.
I would put a bet that your team would never go below what you went
I agree.
this week. the rest
That's the point I'm trying
Yeah.
to make.
Yes,
here.
I understand. I
It's
don't.
worst possible
I don't
scenario
think
played
that
out.
I go below 120 for the rest of the season, but
Yeah,
it will happen. It could.
I mean, we've seen it happen. So
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just in one of those weeks. I guess it's how I started off the season. I had bad beats all around in week 1. I'm starting to realize that I should never bet week 1. But
Yeah.
Smith, we got to close it out. We're not closing it out, but we're going to be talking about Derek versus Parker's matchup just because of the crazy shit that just happened overnight.
Yeah.
And this is what I was telling you guys before. We got there a little longer than expected. But Smith, take us away with the Derek versus Parker matchup of
yeah.
the one that goes down in history.
So I'm gonna just start by saying I think this is why we actually let teams leave a spot empty, right? Like if you want to mess up your team and take that risk, God bless you. So if you don't understand the background here, Derek was winning by I think it was 1 or 2 points.
Just say what.
Yeah, he was winning by a microscopic amount, and he had Justin Tucker, the best kicker in the history of the NFL, on his roster.
Vinny and I, right before you got on Smith, Vinny and I went back all the way to 2015, and the least amount of points he ever put up was 1.
Exactly. He's never put up a negative score in his career up until 2015. So, Derek, thinking that he had won the game, sat him out. What we did realize was that the stats for Parker's team, which includes George Kittle, if you watch that game, he had a play where it looked like a fumble at first, but in looking back at it, and the color commentator kind of brought this up as well, it didn't really look like a fumble. Sure enough, there's a stat correction. Kittle loses that fumble, so he gains a couple of points.
Yep.
And Derek doesn't see it. And Derek, having sat Justin Tucker, loses the game by...
Wait. Hold on. Before you get into that number.
Okay.
That stat correction happened before the game started.
Yeah. Derek. So
that just made it even better for me because I didn't know it happened before the game. I just saw it
before the game,
after the game, and then because I was at the concert Monday night, which, whatever, don't want to get into that. But I didn't see anything that was happening, so I was very delayed, and I just looked at Parker's team like Parker's winning. Like, why wouldn't he start the kicker?
Well, Badger first brought it up. When did you send that first message, Badger? Was it?
Probably. Like,
it was probably right around kickoff.
Okay.
Because I texted it to R. Kelly first. I was like, "Are you seeing what I'm seeing?" And then I texted you boys, and I was like,
"Yeah,
we got something going on here."
Yeah. Well, the issue for Derek was that his phone, I guess, died on him, so he didn't get that. And that's another thing. That's another thing too. Like stat corrections, there should be some sort of notification that goes out. So, Sleeper, if you're watching this, maybe you send a report of stat corrections, during each day. That would be helpful. So I will give Derek that. No one could have foreseen that coming. However, it's inexcusable to sit Justin Tucker. The odds of him, the odds of Justin Tucker putting up a negative score in a dome, might I add, so not having to deal with wind, nothing, is next to none.
Yeah.
Now look, I will say this. If you are 5 points ahead, now maybe 6. If you're 6 points ahead and you've got the kicker and you don't want to, God forbid, something terrible happens, then I understand sitting someone.
6 points. That's a lot of missed kicks.
I understand that, but at that
point, field goal.
I know, but at that point, okay, I won't take any risks. God forbid something awful happens, he's out, right? So I understand the logic that Derek had, but I don't understand doing it with 1 point, and you just add fuel to the fire because he didn't check his roster right before kickoff when he could have easily added Justin Tucker to win that game. He would have won the game by 11 points. Instead, Derek's 0-2, losing by a microscopic amount on a stat correction, and he also loses on the points for median, which he also would have topped had he started Justin Tucker. So, disastrous start. And, just looking at each of the players on Derek's team, I mean, we said it before. Matt Ryan looks done. He just looks done. The offensive line's a nightmare. You have Calvin Ridley, Kyle Pitts, and nobody else. I mean, Russell Gage is not very good. I hate to break it. I was encouraged by his running back group, though. I think there is the silver lining in this matchup. Sanders and Edmonds looked good. We had those concerns about Sanders last year, dropping passes and not looking very good, but that's the beauty of having a mobile quarterback. You may not get as many targets and opportunities out of the backfield, but because that mobile quarterback has the attention of the linebackers and they're moving wherever he goes, that gives Miles Sanders more flexibility if he gets past the defensive line to push it up down the field because the linebacker is, again, off the side with the quarterback. So, same thing with Chase Edmonds, right? He plays with a very mobile quarterback. So, he plays with guys that I think could be very efficient this year with their touches. Look, I think starting Kyle Pitts the first week was a mistake. I said that at the outset. I didn't think he should have started him.
Yeah.
To be fair, he didn't really have anybody
I
else.
was gonna say
Hunter Renfrow, maybe.
Hunter Renfrow, and that's
I might have started Emmanuel Sanders over Kyle Pitts in the first week because we had no idea. And the last thing you want to do, I don't want to say this was a must-win for Derek, but when you're playing a team that's expected to be bad, and Parker's team really wasn't that good. They were bad. You're not going to have that opportunity to play Parker every single week. You do get the chance to play him one more week, but it only gets more difficult from here unless you're playing me or Dan, I guess. And he got about as good of a performance as you could expect from Kelsey.
Yeah.
Look, I think there's enough players here like McLaurin and Adams, that. And Ryan, even Ryan in his poor form, I think is going to be worth at least 10 more points a week, right? So you're looking at about 30 more points a week that we could reasonably expect when guys are hitting on all cylinders. So I still think this is an elite team, but yeah, not a good setup, and this could have been easily avoided.
Yeah, I agree. What a matchup.
I know.
It'll be interesting to see. Oh, and just to top that off, Smith, I tweeted out last night
Yeah, you did.
the scoring and the breakdown, and we got a reply from Jordan Schultz.
Yes, I saw that.
From ESPN.
Yeah.
Which was incredible. So,
And I said,
thank you for that, Derek.
Yeah, thank you. And I just want to read to those that are listening because if they didn't see it.
Do you want to share it on the screen here?
I actually could do that, yeah. So I can bring it over here, and I'll just put it in the middle of our faces. Pathetic to bench Tucker. That's a bad fantasy owner.
It's so good.
He absolutely roasted him.
Roasted.
And we had a lot of people in there saying, who would bench a kicker? Why would you do that? It was something that will once again go down in the history of our league, and I love it.
It's perfect. It's perfect. It's perfect.
Our timing has been terrible. We need to start kind of focusing on our timing. So we kind of overdid our time frame of over an hour with going into stuff, but I think we could quickly do a breakdown of waiver wire claims of who to look for, because today is the waivers, and then tomorrow's episode we'll go over our matchups. We'll go over people who we think will overperform, underperform, all that type of stuff tomorrow episode. But right now, for waiver claims, just to get them in tonight, and if you're doing fab, what percentage? I think the first off, Elijah Mitchell. If you care about him, if you're in a league that actually tries, maybe 20% of your fab, 10 to 15. That would be my guy I would be going for. What do you guys have any top guys of who stood out, who you're trying
Mitchell
to reach out to?
Mitchell would be my top guy. There's still some ambiguity, so but I don't know, man. Week 1 is what can make or break your season, right? If you're really desperate, I would go 30-40% for Elijah Mitchell. I want to make sure I get the player more than anything, right? So if I have to overpay a little bit to get him, I think I might be willing to do that.
Yeah, I agree. Badger, do you have any waiver pickups that you suggest this week for people to look at, if add to the bench potential?
Yeah, just looking at the list, I think Jameis is worth a shot. Just based on granted, Green Bay's defense has never been outstanding. They've kind of always relied on Rodgers to get it done, and clearly when he doesn't get it done, we see what happens. But I guess Jameis would be worth a flyer. He's probably going to end up being a top 12 to 15 quarterback. And then, I wouldn't really take a chance on Christian Kirk. I think Rondale Moore is going to end up being more relevant than him. So I would take a flyer on Rondale Moore as well. It appears that Kyler Murray is going to, pass the ball a bunch this year. So
AJ Green looks washed too.
Yeah, so I would say, and no tight end. There's absolutely no tight end in Arizona. So Rondale Moore is probably going to end up being, if not the 2, definitely the 3 guy. So I would expect his production to go up, and I think he was out there for majority of the plays as well. He just didn't get the necessary looks this week, but I expect that to increase. So you can probably honestly get him if you're in Fab for $10, $12 this week.
Yep, I agree. That was going to be one of my targets. What about Cedric Wilson for the Cowboys? He's going to pick up that Michael Gallup role. Gallup had 7 targets through 3 quarters. Wilson was actually an interesting prospect at Boise State. He won the 6th round in 2018, but per Player Profiler, 70th percentile college dominator, which looks at college target share, college yards per reception, and breakout age, and a bunch of different metrics.
Yeah.
So he was the 70th percentile, which is interesting. And he's got some explosiveness. He's an above-average athlete, 6'2", kind of the same frame as Michael Gallup. So he could be a guy to get 4 to 5, maybe even 6 targets a game while Michael Gallup's out. So if you want to spend 10% of your fab on
2%.
Cedric Wilson, I mean, if you're really we say 10-15%. He went for $1 in our league.
Yeah,
but,
so you could get him for like $5, $6, I think.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're basing it off a $100 fab baseline, about $5 seems right for Cedric Wilson. But yeah, I think he's an interesting wide receiver, and to I don't think there's any tight end worth rostering. I don't think Juwan Johnson.
No.
Two receptions for 2 touchdowns. That's not happening and they still have Adam Troutman, who's a better tight end.
Exactly. So those are the waiver wires. We kind of went over everything, our matchups this week. We had a lot of upsets, or a good amount of upsets, crazy close matchups, and also just a lot of underperformers from vets and players that you would expect to get a lot more points, especially heading into week 1. We're expecting everything to be different this upcoming week, which we will discuss tomorrow, hopefully around 6:30 p.m. Just obviously pay attention to the Twitter, and we'll tweet it out when we're going live. But big matchup, big key points. Go get Elijah Mitchell. Go get Cedric Wilson. Go get Jameis Winston. And who else?
And if you're really desperate, Mark Ingram.
And that's true.
Oh God!
Hey, just because we
always
wrap it
play
up
a
here, we
kicker.
didn't get to it.
Yeah.
I will tweet out on our Twitter our bold takes and how close we were, and that sort of stuff too, since we didn't get to it today.
True,
And
yes.
don't be afraid to pick up Larry Roundtree, RB2 in Los Angeles.
Oh God!
Yes, get that handicap. Eckler's going down. Just kidding. Knock on wood. All right. Thanks, everyone, for watching. I really appreciate tuning in, and we will see you tomorrow around 6:30.